Hello and welcome back to the third episode of a Felicity Crafts Special Learning to Crochet. And I'm glad to see you back because the second episode is by far the hardest. That's the one where you're learning to crochet. So the first one, you just get that going on. Second one, you have learnt to do this, and this is exactly the one that I had last week. So we have got the centre of our square, the first four. But learning that treble is by far the hardest, and it don't feel like you have to come back to these videos every day. You know, you can take weeks in between just doing that. Keep going back over the last one looking. That is by far the hardest. Today it's going to seem like a breeze compared to yesterday. So I've put a different blanket onto the table today, just so that you can be inspired to see what you can do with granny squares. And by the end of this week, you will have made one granny square and changed the colour like this. So you will then be able to make a blanket like this one. Do you recognise this stitch on here? That's a treble. You recognise that there are three of them, almost exactly the same. Although this is a poncho, so it's not a square and it's different, you are so close to being able to do this because you have learnt that treble and you have learnt how to do three. There's a chain hiding underneath there, but you've got all the skills now. So in this episode, we are going to change to the second round. So your square will look like that at the end, but we're going to stay with just one colour for now. We're going to work out how to come out and how to go back round again, and you are going to find that easier because after the first part it's just the same as that. So you will end up then with your square looking like this at the end, and tomorrow we're going to change colour because we're going to end up in the end with a square that looks like this. So we're going to do two of each one. The one in front of you has one of each in changing colour, but once you can change colour then it would be up to you. Okay, so I'm just going to have a little word about troubleshooting this week as well, thinking of the things that you might have got wrong, this episode I mean, not this week, things that you might have got wrong. The majority of things you get wrong in crochet are to do with your tension, being too slack or being too tight. It's a lot easier if you're too slack. If you're ending up with something that looks too big and holy, just tightening that up a little bit would help. If you're pulling it all too tight and your hands feel hurting because you're holding them too tight, you really need to get that relaxed and practice. But it's easy to have it too loose or too tight, and really that's just practice. That's something that you just need to practice and get it so you're happy. When you've made one square at the end of this week, you will then need to make lots of other squares for them to be the same size. And one of the things people ask is the difference between the different hooks. And I told you at the beginning to get either a 4 or a 5. You could do this exact same granny square on a much smaller one and you would end up with the same one looking small. You could do the exact same stitches on a bigger one and end up with it looking bigger. And that's all that happens. It's harder to get a very thin hook in, which is why I suggested 4 or 5. The bigger ones it's easier to, sometimes it ends up a bit big and loose, but actually it doesn't matter. If you want it to grow quickly, I did this shawl in a couple of days because I used a really big hook and some really thick wool, and you can do it like that. But that's the only difference that the hooks are. They're just going to make a difference to the size, so you can sometimes experiment a little bit by playing around with that, but for a blanket you need to keep them all the same because they're going to do that. Okay, so we'll switch on to the other camera and we'll talk about another problem I think you might have had, and then I'll show you how to do the second round. Okay, so yesterday we just got to do the central part like this part. And so we're just going to look at a couple of mistakes we might have made first before we get on to the next part. Okay, I wonder if you can see what is wrong with this one. Okay. Have a little look at that for a minute. Pause and decide what's wrong with that. What can you see? 1, 2, 3 stitches. That's good. We wanted 3 trebles and a corner. 1, 2, 3 trebles and a corner. 1, 2, 3 trebles and a corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you see? So that's just a simple counting issue, and that happens all the time, that you get carried away doing that and you think to yourself, oh, what can you do? So what we're going to do is pull that out because we had one too many. in an advanced crochet course that I'm going to show you later, maybe next time after this, we'll look at making a circle. And when you're using a circle, you need 12 going all the way around like this. But it's really easy to get 13 by mistake, really easy. And you find yourself thinking, oh, right, it doesn't work, that's no good. And it's really easy to pull back. I wanted to show you how easy it is to pull back. So I've pulled it back to there and I've got myself a loop and I'm just going to join. So I got all the way around like that, and now I would just do the second part that we did before when we're doing that. So that's where we got up to. I wanted to show you how easy it is to go back. Now, the other thing that people sometimes do, and I know I have taught people to crochet live, is when they're at this kind of stage. So you've gone round your first couple and you're doing that. Now, it's really easy when you start the next treble to go into this hole by mistake, or to go into this hole by mistake. Rather than going into the centre, you could also go into there by mistake. You need to be going in. Now, that is why at the beginning I got you to shove your hand through there. If you have ever done crochet before, you might have thought that crocheting 6 in the loop was quite a lot, because a lot of crochet patterns will start with a much smaller circle. If you have a look at something like this one that we finished, you can see that the hole in the middle is actually quite small compared to this one. And that's because you're a beginner and you're starting. You can make the hole much smaller later, but because crochet like this is holy, it's really easy to go into the wrong hole by mistake. But if you keep that hole a bit bigger at the beginning and you push your finger through it to make it, then you won't go wrong. Okay, so we've got 3 there and we've done our corner, and then we're going to go back to 3 trebles, and this time I'm going to make this one work. So we're doing our 3 trebles. So just remind yourself that a treble is yarn over hook, down into the hole, yarn over hook and pull through, yarn over hook, 2 off, yarn over hook, 2 off. Go back to the other video if you want to look at that a bit more slowly. And then we're going to do our 2 chains to form a corner, and then we're going to find the top of that one to make it go into a square and pull through both loops, which I don't think I told you on the last one is called a slip stitch. Okay, so that's where we're getting to. So when we've got that there, and I'm just going to show you one of the ones with 2 colours. Oh, I think this one's a slightly clearer colour base actually to show you. We've done this central section and now we're going to go to the next one. And you can see that the stitches are exactly the same, and we are going to follow 3 trebles, chain, 3 trebles, corner, 3 trebles, chain, all the way round. But in order to get there, we have to move ourselves out. You can't, if you started crocheting now, you're still on this round, and you need to do something which is going to make you move out, so that you're then at the top of the stitch here and you're going round. And that is 3 chains. So just like we did right at the beginning when we did it, we are repeating that. We're going to go for 3 chains. 1, 2, 3. Don't worry about writing anything down now, because I am going to tell you, I'm just showing you that the wool's just out here. I'm going to tell you about writing it down at the end. Just focus on that now. Now that's moved us out, and now we're going to be able to come in. I want you to just look at where it is for a minute. So when you've come out there, you're in this corner. So you're not the first stitch of your new round, of your new set of trebles. You're the last stitch of your last set of trebles here. Don't worry if that didn't make any sense. I'm going to move it to here. We're going to go round and then we're going to join it. It's going to make sense as I go along. So don't worry if you're thinking, didn't quite get that. Okay, don't worry. But what we're going to do is create the one here. This one here, which on the round after that will be what you're crocheting into. So we're creating that there. And we know that when we don't see something, it's a chain. So we did 3 chains, and then we're going to do 1 chain. Just bear with me for that. I know when I started crocheting, I was thinking, why doesn't she just say chain 4? Why did she say chain 3 and then chain another one? Okay, it's going to become clear as we go around. Just think of it that way. Chain 3 and then chain 1. Now, I've brought myself over to this next one, but it's really important to know where you're going in. Okay, we've come along here and now we're going here. into this corner here to create this first stitch here. Okay, so now I'm going to do a treble. So I'm going to do yarn over hook, and I'm coming down into this one and pull through. Take it off in twos, just like we did before. And because it's a treble, we're doing 3 of them, aren't we? So we're doing 1, 2, and I'm just going to loosen up a bit of wool there. 3. If you're a knitter, it's difficult to get the hang of the fact that I moved that a lot to make 1 stitch, didn't I? With knitting, that's just 1 stitch and you've done 1, whereas you actually have to move your hook a lot to get that treble. Okay, we've created 1 lot of trebles here, and now we're on the corner, and the corner was chain 2, just like last time. 2 chains. Now I'm still going into that same corner, into that same hole here. Push them up a little bit like you did the first time we did it, and I'm going to fit another 3. So this is 1 treble, this is 2 trebles, this is 3 trebles. Now I know I'm going faster with the trebles this time, but that's because you can always go back over the last one. Oh, I've made a problem there, look at that. What's that doing there? I don't like the look of it. That's because I paused to pull it off the wool and I've got my tension wrong. So I'm going to pull it out. Don't worry about making mistakes in crochet. That is absolutely fine. You're going to go like this and go all the way around. Now in between here, we're just going to have 1 chain, and then we're going to repeat that. We're going to do 1 treble, 2 trebles, 3 trebles into that corner, freeing it up off my wool. I'm going to go 2 chains to create a corner, and then I'm going to do 1 treble, 2 trebles, 3 trebles, and then we've got another corner, 2 sets of trebles with 1 in between, 1. And then we're going to go round so that we've done that all the way around and ending up with it like that. So I'm just going to pause and show you this and tell you what we did, okay? We did chain 3. Let me find where the chain 3 is on that one. Chain 3, chain 1. 1, 2, 3 trebles, chain 2. 1, 2, 3 trebles, chain 1. 1, 2, 3 trebles, chain 2, 1, 2, 3 trebles, chain 1, and follow that all the way around until you get to the end. So I've just zipped all the way around now, and I've done 3 trebles into that corner and my 2 chains for the corner. And this is where we already have one of our stitches. So now on the very last one, I'm going to do 2 trebles and then join at the top of that one, at the top of the 3, leaving 1 behind. And when I slip stitched it round like that, that's where we've got. So it's 3, 3, 3 until we get to the last one, and then it's 2 and join into that first one, and then we'll be ready for our next line. So you will now have this, and you will see that that was easier, because once you've done that middle section, like lots and lots of crafts, getting started is always the hardest bit. Once you've done the middle section, you're basically just going to keep repeating. From now on, you keep repeating. So just keep repeating exactly what I've just shown you again and again and again, and you'd get a giant blanket. You could do it like that, you could keep going forever. But it's more fun when you have a really colourful one, isn't it? So tomorrow we're going to get to the excitement of how to change colour. So you're going to need some scissors, okay? Don't do any cutting until I show you, because you don't want it all unravelling after all your hard work. Okay, but I will see you tomorrow and we will change colours.